Let's bring my guy Tone in.
Big Sales, how are you feeling, sir?
Pretty good. How are you feeling about as we get closer to? Oh, by the way, the loss of Fletcher Cox on Sundays. What?
I'm not happy about it. That like you said, that epidural situation, man. I know how it affects pregnant women. So imagine how it affects these guys, man. But when you think about it, Fletcher Cox, 33, 34 years old, man, he's up there, right? So all that tread on the tires, man, is starting to wear on him. So I mean, it's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt the rotations. It's going to hurt the depth. But I'm looking at this as an opportunity for Jalen Carter to be able to have that breakout game. He's had good games back to back, but he's going to be he's going to have an opportunity to compare his game. We're going to have an opportunity to compare his performance to an Aaron Donald, right? We're already comparing Jalen Carter to Aaron Donald in terms of quarterback pressures. He's second in quarterback pressures to Aaron Donald, and he's playing significantly less snaps than Aaron Donald. I think there's about an 85 or 90 snap difference between the two players, and Jalen Carter is right behind him in terms of quarterback pressure. So I think this is a big opportunity for Jalen Carter, big opportunity for Jordan Davis and Milton Williams and those boys as well. I think Marlon Tuipulotu, the other DT, he's dealing with a little bit of an arm injury. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not, but this is a big opportunity for those young guys, and I think Jalen Carter is going to live up to expectations on Sunday.
I think this could be a good sign here for Brian Johnson, and we kind of broached this again yesterday a little bit. So Josh Allen has won his second AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Last year, everybody was screaming for Ken Dorsey's job because of the job that they were doing by allowing him to have more turnovers. Now, still, they won 13 games, but it just looked different. Right. You know how we're talking about Jalen now?
It looked different.
Looking different with a different coordinator?
Yeah.
How long do you go? Do you stay patient with Brian Johnson? Because here's what I don't want to do, Tone. You don't want to get into a position where you become a revolving door at coordinator, and this guy's getting new coordinators year in and year out. In my opinion, that's how you stunt a quarterback's progression. Do you know Peyton Manning had the same offensive coordinator for a decade in the name of Tom Moore?
Wow.
Same guy. And the offense that they ran in New England, after a while, both Tom Brady and Bill Belichick became comfortable with going from Charlie Weiss to Josh McDaniel to Bill O'Brien because they seemingly had the same kind of rhythm and worked with Tom on Tom's rhythm on how he threw the ball. So to me, as critical as I am right now of Brian, I'm just wondering because Ken is now being revered again because Allen's playing great ball. How long do you go with this? Do you run through the tape with it? And even if they don't have the success, say they had, do you still stick with this? How far do you go with Brian Johnson?
Oh, they're going to take this until the season's over. They're going to take this until the bitter end. They had to live with this decision. You said something earlier. Jalen Hurts, he hasn't really had an opportunity to have the same play caller or the same coordinator too often, right? I think Shane Steichen, he had him back-to-back seasons. He had him back-to-back seasons. So that's the first time he had any continuity there. Obviously, it was a highway decision to move up Brian Johnson. But I think they also look at it like this. Continuity is important to the quarterback. Not just the quarterback position, but it's important to Jalen Hurts. He spoke about it many a times how, this is the first time I've had a coordinator for back-to-back seasons in a long time, so I'm looking forward to it. So you can clearly tell it's important to him. Jalen was saying this last year. So I think the Eagles are going to ride us until the wheels fall off. Nick Sirianni's not going to call plays again. He already understands his strengths and his weaknesses. He'd rather be the CEO coach. He'd rather be, kind of pulling various strings and keeping an eye on the entire team rather than just focusing on the offensive side of the ball. And that was kind of why they were 2-5 in the first place in 2021. So I think they're going to ride this Brian Johnson train all the way to the bitter end.
Okay, so in your opinion, and I'm not saying it's wrong because continuity is part of it.
Right.
You'd rather hire the lesser guy than the more talented coach. For your guy who finished second in the runner-up MVP, who was a quarter away, I'll take that back, 10 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl, you'd rather hire a guy who you feel more comfortable with than the better guy.
I'll put it to you this way, right? My dad does contracting work. He remodels homes. He does a lot of work like that, right? And I spend a lot of time with my father. all the time, watch movies. We do everything together.
That's spectacular.
And also on top of that, like I said, he does the contracting work. But would my dad ever take my advice or bring me on a job? I'm not handy at all. So my point is, we're familiar. He knows me. We spend a lot of time together. But am I the person that he wants to bring to that job? Am I the person he's going to hire?
But that's what the Eagles did.
But to your point, right? I'm getting to your point, right? The fact of the matter is, I want the best guy for my situation. I don't care who you know, how you know him. I want the best guy to get me where I want to go. So, you brought up a good point about this is a Super Bowl roster. Why are you taking a chance on a guy who's essentially unproven? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that with player personnel. You wouldn't elevate a developing tight end and try to get him reps if you're a Super Bowl team. You're trying to get proven guys on the roster so you can get to where you got to go. So why would you do the same? So why would you cut corners with the coordinator position? Again, I'm going to give Brian Johnson the benefit of the doubt and give him the entire season because I do want to see him succeed. That's that's my reality. I want to see him succeed, but at the same time, so far through 4 games, I have not been impressed.
How about this? What rubbed the organization so wrong with Jim Schwartz, Frank Reich, Doug Peterson so much that they turn around and hire inexperienced coaches? Or how about this? Lesser personality coaches, lesser authority coaches. Why did they go from that dynamic with such powerful, willful coaches to coaches that seemingly go along and get along guys that, like you said, continuity and guys know them, they feel better. But to me, that's the stuff that cost you in critical moments against Andy Reid and Mahomes in late games when you don't have that decision-making ability to understand what they're trying to do with you in the long run. They went from one dynamic tone of all those talented coaches. Look at what Schwartz is doing with Cleveland. It's the number 1 defense in the NFL. They went from that to Desai. Look at what Frank Reich, he's a head coach in 2 different places. They went from that to Brian Johnson. I mean, Shane Steichen, I'm going to back up here, and John McMullen's right. That guy is a hell of a coach. He's doing a great job. If it's not for the guy in Houston, Steichen's probably doing the best job for a first-year guy. And he's doing a really good job with missing pieces there.
Right.
Why did they go from that to this?
If I had to guess, I think they were scarred by Chip Kelly. I think the Chip Kelly experiment really rocked their boat, and I believe it really had an effect on how Howie Roseman does business and how he conducts himself. Right.
But they won a Super Bowl with those guys.
Right. I feel you. I understand, but I look at it like this: Howie Roseman is really big on making sure. How can I put this? He's the reason. So, and look, I mean, no disrespect, right? One day I may shake hands with Howie Roseman. You never know. But my point is, at the end of the day, Chip Kelly scarred this organization, and I don't think they ever saw themselves ever allowing another coach, another staff to ever, run the show. We saw how they responded to Doug. Doug won that Super Bowl with Schwartz and Frank Reich. I mean, all those guys have a tremendous amount of experience, but they decided to move on from those guys because a lot of egos got thrown around. So they decided to bring in the young guy, Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni brought in his people, Howie Roseman guided Nick to bring in his people. And we are where we are. Look, the bottom line is Nick Sirianni, he has been successful with this team. That's, regardless of how I feel about him personally or how you feel about him personally, right? Or no matter what color pom-poms he's wearing. The reality is he's had success with this team, and I have to ride with that trend.
Okay, so not to belabor the point here on what happened, do you agree with me and Seth that divorce between Doug and how things were unraveling was behind the scenes more uglier than what people were reporting?
Oh, I think so. I think so. Because look at
where they went from, Tone, where I said they went from that to where they're not going back to that ever again.
No, I completely agree. I completely believe that situation was much more contentious than what has been reported. Because at the end of the day, these are people. These are people with power. It's it's millions of dollars in these rooms, billions of dollars in these rooms. You know what I mean? It's a lot on the line. Egos, pride, who's responsible for what. People want this amount of credit. People want this amount of control. You know, it's a volatile cocktail, you know, for disaster. So I firmly believe those conversations between Doug and Howie and Jeffrey were a lot more contentious than what we realized.
Hey, you know, millions are for the MLS. This is $1 billion job. Hey, these are $1 billion decisions.
Billionaires.
$1 billion decision, right? Right, Dr. Evil, right? That's for
sure.
the MLS. All right.
Oh man, we're gonna start calling Howie Dr. Evil, man. He has to be in control, man. He has to be in control.
What about Randy Gregory? Would you be interested in him?
I'm torn about that because, you know, I know the Cowboys, you know, wanted him back.
Would you try to keep him away from San Francisco and Dallas?
See, here's the thing, right? It has to go through the waiver wire anyway.
It does.
So I don't even think the Eagles are going to even be able to actually make it to the plate. You get what I mean? Like,
he's going to pick up the $13 million right now. That's what because it's 5 years, $70 million. There's some money still owed on it now.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. He does have a lot of money he's owed.
There's 5 years. He signed a 5-year, $70 million deal. So we're talking about 12.5 still out there. And to me, that's why I think there's a great chance he clears waivers.
He can't hurt us. He only can help us. So. To that point about the contract, now I doubt any team will pick it up. Most likely teams will just let that thing ride out, and then the moment the waiver wire goes by, they're going to say, hey, "Listen, man, this is what we can do for you." So he's going to have his pick of the litter. He's going to get signed. That's that's not a question. The question is, do the Eagles feel like they need to pull that trigger? I think they do need a little bit more depth on the defensive line. They're experiencing a lot of injuries this year. So depth will only help this team. And look, man, you want to make sure you got as many bullets in the gun to make sure you take down that elephant. So you want to make sure that, you know, this team is positioned, you know, like you said earlier, right? Robert Quinn. I wasn't mad at that move at all. He didn't he didn't give us a single sack. But I wasn't mad at that move because at the end of the day, you know where your team is. You know you're that close. Why not give yourself the best chance?
Keep taking swings, man.
Keep taking swings. Why not?
That's Why right, not? Man. You got a home up. That's like telling Schwarber not to keep swinging, even though he's 206.
Schwarber didn't even crack a 200 average this season, and he had a career high in home runs. I want that guy to keep swinging.
Me too, man.
46 homers. I want him to keep swinging.
Yeah, I'm going to make a shirt for him that says "Swing away, dude."
Yep. over 200 strikeouts. Yeah, keep swinging.
Keep swinging, man. I'm good. All right.
Right.
Most impressed Eagles so far in the first month.
Ooh, that's a good question. The Eagle that's impressed me the most. You know what? I'm going to throw a wild card in there. I'm going to say Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis has impressed me the most because when I think about those other guys, I expect them to do what they do, right? I expect DeAndre Swift to be electric. He's always been electric. Maybe he didn't have the career yards to match, but when I see DeAndre Swift play, he's a guy I want to pay attention to. AJ Brown, he's going to do AJ Brown things. Devontae Smith, he's going to do Slim Reaper things. Jalen Hurts, I expect him to do what he does. The offensive line, I expect that. Right? Jalen Carter, I expect that. But Jordan Davis, we were all as a collective, we were all kind of down on him, and I was down on him. And look, I never called him a bust, but I knew entering this second season, this had to be a make or break year for him. He had to turn the corner, especially when you consider Howie Roseman going back-to-back years drafting a defensive tackle. That's a shot across the bow. That's a message to let you know I'm not satisfied with this position. Oh, yeah. I need more here. So I've been extremely impressed with Jordan Davis. He's got a sack. He's got a forced fumble. He's got TFLs. You know, the Eagles are ranked top 3 in run defense. I mean, this is exactly why you brought a guy like this in with that athleticism. That's why I always said to myself, yes, I know he's a nose tackle, but they're using him in a lot more 40 fronts this year, and I think he's more comfortable there. It's allowing him to kind of have free range and move along that line of scrimmage. So I think Jordan Davis has been easily the most impressive player this season because of what we thought he was and what he's shown us to be today.
I got to tell you, man, for me, I've been pleasantly surprised by Reed Blankenship.
Yeah.
I mean, I expected nothing out of him. I expected okay play. I didn't know. and there was more unknown there. You know,
Yeah.
when you look at Jordan, you saw his athleticism at the combines, so you were kind of hoping he would kind of pull the trigger and live up to that.
Right.
With Reed, I didn't know. You know, I mean, he's tough. He plays tough. You know, he's still got a lot of work to do still on.
I was high on Reed. I'll be honest. I was high
personally for me with Reed. I just think it's reps.
Exactly. I was high on Reed for this reason. His first game in, C.J. Gardner-Johnson had got hurt. He came in for him in that Green Bay game, going up against Aaron Rodgers. And literally, I think the first couple plays, he manages to pick off Aaron Rodgers. It wasn't fluky, though. It wasn't like it was a tip pass. He was in the right place at the right time. You know, we see, you know, in my opinion, all plays, all interceptions aren't created equal, right? You know, there may be a situation where a quarterback just clearly overthrows a guy and the ball goes right to your hands. But with that interception, Reed Blankenship read what was going on in front of him. He didn't overreact. He was patient. It was almost like he was born for that moment. So I'm looking at it like this. When I see a guy who plays with the type of instincts that he plays with, sure, he may not jump off the charts athletically. He's not the fastest guy, right? But he plays the game physically. He plays the game with reckless abandon in the right ways. And he just understands the position. I was a firm believer that just as a pure safety, I felt like he was better than CJ because he truly understood the role of the position. CJ is a slot corner by trade. So when I put all that together, I was pretty high on Reed coming into the season. You know, he went to Middle Tennessee State, I believe, and that's the college where I think his name is Kevin Byard, the safety from Tennessee, all pro. So they
beat my Kings last year, man. I mean, they got some talent on that roster down there. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the former Florida State former Florida State football player that was coached by Bobby Bowden and Mickey Andrews that runs that team. He's got some talent down there.
And Kevin Byard wasn't drafted in the first round. Neither was and Reed wasn't drafted at all. So they have some talent down there. Maybe because of the school, they're never going to be drafted high, but there's some talent down there.
Absolutely. The only thing I ever knew was Wilma Rudolph, I think, came out of that place. I mean, she came out of Tennessee State, excuse me. All right. Most disappointing player.
Ooh, most disappointing player. Okay, let's think about this. I'm going to say, okay, it's not this player's fault. It's not his fault. But I'm going to say I've been really disappointed with Dallas Goedert. It's not his fault, though, right? We've seen the play calling. We see the issue. And
88 yards after 4 games.
It's unacceptable. We spoke about this earlier this week. It's unacceptable to have a guy of Dallas Goedert's caliber, that talent, that physicality, that athleticism, that technique. It's criminal. It's a problem. You deserve to be drug tested for not being able to find a way to get Dallas Goedert the rock. I don't understand it. And that's my biggest problem with Brian Johnson right now. It seems like he doesn't truly fully grasp what he has at his repertoire, or maybe he just doesn't know how to get him the ball. He doesn't know what to do with all this talent. Maybe he feels pressure to draw things up for AJ all the time. I don't know. I'm not saying AJ, listen, you want to get the ball in your best player's hands. All about that. I'm all about that. But you have an offense full of guys that can just destroy an opposing defense in so many different ways. You have an opportunity to diversify this catalog of play calling. You need to do better. Dallas Goedert is too good. He's getting paid too much money for him to be sitting there just blocking all damn day. I'm tired of him running them whack-ass routes, Sills. Get him out there in the intermediate, man. Send him out there to hit somebody. Do something with the guy. He's too good. He's too good. It's a problem. It is not his fault. It's not his fault.
Do you think that they're systematically moving Quez Watkins out of the offense?
Ooh, that's an interesting question because he's been dealing with the hamstring.
Haven't we seen the kid from Atlanta? With more opportunities now. I mean, by the way, you know what had to impress him? When I think it was AJ going down the field, and that kid from Atlanta, he's blocking his ass off down the field.
Yep.
Even AJ came over on the sidelines, tapped him on the hat, and goes, "That was awesome." Because he was like a running back watching this kid.
Him and Smitty was out there like just they did. And what makes it so good, they didn't get caught for a penalty. They were just
they didn't block from the side. There was no clipping.
Yeah, they were just putting themselves in the way, right? But to your point about Quez, look, I'm not high and I'm not low on Quez. I'm kind of indifferent about Quez. And for me, that's a bad place to be with me. If I'm indifferent about you, then, it's whatever. For me, the play that signified to me their trust in Olamide, they went to him on back-to-back plays.
Yeah.
In that fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the fourth quarter. They went to him on back-to-back plays. It was second down and third down. And it was a crucial third. It was a crucial third down at that, because if they don't get it, they're going to have to punt the ball, and then Washington gets that ball back, and Lord knows what happens. They went to him on back-to-back plays. Jalen trusts him in that situation, and that wasn't just any kind of situation. The defender was pretty draped on Olamide, and he did his thing. So I'll be honest, in that situation, I don't trust Quez. I just don't.
I think they're weeding him out of the offense
slowly but surely, right?
Yeah.
I
know he's been hampered a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't trust Quez at all.
I think they're falling more in love with Olamide, and I think they're trying to do that. Here's the last one here for you.
Yep.
Do you think it's time for the Eagles to make another move at punter?
That punter didn't have a good day on Sunday. He shanked one, but
32-yarder.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
And it gave him a position to go down the field, and they scored.
Yeah. I'll stick with him a little bit longer. I would stick with him. But, there's something I do want to talk about with you, Sills, that's really interesting about this Eagles-Rams matchup, right? The Rams, they aren't a team that's been good at home. All their wins have come on the road. And to make it even worse, on the road, they're only giving up about 95 rushing yards a game. At home, they're giving up like 150, 160.
Yeah.
That's too drastic of a disparity. So in my opinion, the game plan for this Sunday, you got to be physical. You got to punch these guys in the mouth. I'm running right at Aaron Donald. You know why? I don't feel the need to get into a gun show with the Los Angeles Rams in week 5. What's the point of that?
They're finesse.
The coaches don't need to overthink this. Just keep pounding them, and then your play action and your RPO is going to open up. The pass game is going to open up. I don't think they need to enter this game feeling like they need to throw across the yard. That's the kind of game the Rams want.
I'm going to make a proclamation here that I will not bang on the Eagles on Monday if I see this. Okay. 48 carries, 25 passes. You're not going to hear me go, where the hell's the passing game? Because this game dictates beating the Rams up. They are a finesse team. If you get into a passing game with them, you could be beat.
Exactly.
Because of the play calling, because of the talent they have at the Y and Z, and because the quarterback knows what he's doing. And if you're going to blitz him and you don't get home, you're going to have a problem with that. And then you're going to be on your heels like you were in Washington.
Yeah.
To your point,
their best player is Aaron Donald. You got to run at him and make him a non-factor.
Hey, Tone, to your point, if you know that I can beat your ass because you have one hand tied behind your back and I'm pounding the hell out of you, it's up to you to get that hand free. But why in the world would you take that away and you fight with one hand? Don't do what it's playing to your opponent's strength instead of weakness.
If you ask me, it's ego. If you ask me, it's ego. I feel like sometimes these coaches, not just the Eagles, but I feel like in this passing league, a lot of these coaches, their ego takes over in the play calling and they just want to sling the ball across the yard. And my thing is, why are you trying to prove that you can throw 300, 400 yards a game? You don't need to prove that. You need to prove that you can win the game in a multitude of ways and show dominance. And
do you remember what I said earlier about coordinators in the year? I said this. There's some coordinators that want to put a lot of points up and put a lot of yards up. But there's some coordinators who want to win games. Okay? Shane Steichen was about winning ball games last year.
Absolutely.
This coordinator is about putting points up and yards up and trying to be balanced and everything. That's irrelevant. Right. What's relevant is to you, like you say, the thing that made the Patriots such a sensational 20-year thing. If Brady had to throw the ball for 135 yards in a game, and they ran the ball with some guy, how many times would you see this dynamic, Tone? One week, a running back from New England would have 225 yards rushing. That same running back would be deactivated the next week because it didn't match up with the personnel that they were going to be playing against.
Right.
And what made them so good, they were chameleons each week. That's why that roster, when you look at that roster New England had for 20 years outside of the legendary Brady, it was about guys who were hybrids that you could go to a 34-43 put a guy's hand in the dirt, stand him up. The Teddy Bruschi's, the Vrabels, those kind of guys where you could just go up and down and it didn't matter, but you were chameleons to the type of personnel that you were going to play.
Yeah, and that's why I like Jalen Hurts because he just wants to. That's why I like Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts doesn't care about slinging the ball 50 plus times. Jalen Hurts cares about getting the W. He doesn't care.
But the coordinator does.
Man, I really hope. Look, one thing I'll give Brian Johnson credit for this. You know, in that Vikings game, he woke up and said, you know what? Passing is kind of lackluster. Let's run this ball. So he's had moments where he's read the game situation and molded the game plan towards that. I felt like in that Washington game, he regressed. He got caught up. He got too pass happy early on and didn't really rely on that running game to set the tone. I feel like in this game, you're going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Like you always say, they drink wine spritzers over there. They eat cheese with toothpicks over there. Those guys are soft. Like, come on, man. Like, you need to run the ball. You need to bring Philly to SoFi.
Yeah. You know what? Like you know, you're a bully. Act like it. Like when you get in, you know, people are what Raheem Morris told me. What he wants to do, he wants to get, and so do the coaches in Los Angeles. They want them to get into a shootout with the Rams.
And they want to make right.
They want to make it an ugly fourth quarter game like every other team has done.
Exactly.
When there's no need for it.
Yep. And guess what? Here's another thing too. When you throw the ball a lot and you throw incompletions, you stop the clock.
Correct.
So you're hurting your team.
You bring teams back into games when you do that.
Exactly. Another thing as well, really quickly before I get out of here, Big Sills, you know, Cam Jurgens is going to be out. Cam Jurgens has been okay. But overall, right now, Cam Jurgens is going to be out. You have a right guard coming in Sua Opeta. He's pretty solid. The Eagles are pretty good with their dead pieces when it comes to the offensive line. But he's going to be going up against Aaron Donald. You want to get Sua Opeta confident, run that ball. That's what you have to do. You have to establish the offensive line's confidence, especially Sua Opeta, because he's going to be coming in. You want Sua Opeta confident. You want him playing his best. Get him going forward first. Don't have him backpedaling 40 plus times a game. Get him going forward 30 plus, 35 plus times a game. And guess what? Aaron Donald will be a non-factor in this game. Like you said, Jalen Hurts throws 25 passes and he gives you 2 or 3 passing touchdowns, and you got 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns. You got over 180, 200 yards rushing. You can't stop it. No one has been able to.
Can't defend it. Can't defend it.
You can't get caught up with the sexy conversations with people always, oh, yeah, the Eagles, they haven't figured out their passing game. And, you know, all they do is run the ball. You know, they're old school. They're prehistoric. I don't give a damn. Are we winning? Are we smacking the hell out of you? Okay, sit down and eat your Cheerios.
How about this, man? This will happen at SoHi Stadium on Sunday, man. This is when you know you're not in the right building and you're an Eagle fan. When you're sitting next to a dude and the dude goes like this, hey, dude, pass the hookah, man. Is that Humboldt County green or is that Sensimilia Napa? Dude, I'm looking for a brat and a burger. What are you drinking? I'm drinking Chardonnay and vaping, man.
Man, listen, when I'm at a game, Sills, you know what I'm going for? I want some chicken and peach fries to my left.
Yep.
I want a sloppy cheesesteak just going down my arm on the right. Yeah. I want a beer right here in my cup holder. Yep. You know what I'm saying? When I leave the game, I want stains on my shirt. You know what I'm saying? I don't go to football games to look pretty. I want to
stagger out of a game.
Listen. In my single days, I don't go to football games to pick up chicks, okay? I go to football games to scream loud and curse people out. You know what I'm saying? So like my thing is like I need this game to get ugly for for the Rams.
Yeah.
I need the Rams jerseys to be more dirty than ours. As a matter of fact, I need the Rams to run out of Tide Pods because that washing machine is going to be on overload, okay? Those jerseys, listen, man, name tags going to be ripped off, numbers going to be hanging off, man, shoulder pads going to be chipped up. Listen, the Eagles have an opportunity here. They have the game plan. They have the blueprint. They have the tools. Don't overthink this, man. Just run the rock, set up your play action, your RPO. You have the tools, man. Why act like you don't know how to build the house? You know you got it.
Imagine Big Sills as a fan when the vet had the jail back in the day. John Walsh would have been looking. This is one of America's most wanted. If you've seen this guy used to throw people off the 700 section. Dude, that's the kind of ball games. That's the kind of fans I want, man. The Rams and the Chargers. Don't the Chargers play like the Raiders this weekend?
I think they played them last weekend.
Holy cow, that thing must have been a train wreck, man.
Yeah, I think
That
they
thing
played them.
must
Yeah, they
have
beat
been.
them last weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I got to
beat them
take a
last
look at what, dude. SoHi Stadium is going to be so packed with Eagle fans on Sunday.
Bro, the
I mean,
Rams don't have a
man.
real fan base. It's LA. They don't have a real fan base.
It's not a sports town, dude.
It's not.
It's a Hollywood
not.
fakers town.
All they care about is their Dodgers. That's about it.
Do they?
That's about it. He said,
Hey,
do
man,
they?
thanks a lot, Tone.
Hey, listen,
Do they
Suz, I
really
appreciate
care
you, man,
about
as
the
always.
Dodgers? Okay, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Talk
I
soon, man.
suppose so, man. I don't know, man. They got a great hot dog. I will say this to you: the Dodgers have a great hot dog. They got a great hot dog. I've had hot dogs there, and their beer's pretty good. Chavez Ravine is a pretty cool place. I will not lie. I've gone there a couple times, man. That's a good place. If you think about it, of all the great ballparks, it's if I'm not mistaken, is that the first professional ballpark on the West Coast for Major League Baseball, beginning in 1959. Now, the Dodgers played at the LA Coliseum when they first moved to Los Angeles as they were making Chavez Ravine. And yeah, by the way, it's really great to see Mexicans going back to Chavez Ravine after they displaced every single family in Chavez Ravine to build the place. You should be kissing Fernando Valenzuela's ass every day because he's the guy that brought everybody back to Los Angeles. If Jackie Robinson is the most important Major League Baseball and one of the greatest people in the history of American sports, Valenzuela is the most important Dodger in Los Angeles because he brought everybody back to LA. All right. We will talk to our great friend, and that will be Merrill Reese at 4:30 Eastern time. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.